Hey, everybody, this is Truth Unbound. I'm Walt Swaim. And just before we get into the supposed contradiction that there is in the Bible, I want to mention this real quickly to you. First of all, I am academic dean at Louisiana Baptist University. You can look us up at lbu.edu. So, also, I want to remind you that we work hard here at Truth Unbound, even when we're missing a gap there in time between episodes. But we do work hard to present the questions that come up that are recent and new and relevant as to what's happening in our world. And so God has the answers for everything, either by command or by principle. If you would like to see that others hear, many more, hear about Truth Unbound and as well benefit from it as you have, then would you do this? Would you click on like? If you're watching this on YouTube or even in regular podcast app, just click on like if you would. Click to follow us and also subscribe to the channel. And then if you would, share this link of this podcast with everyone you can. All right? Well, thank you very much. Let's take a look at the question today, and let's get on it right away. Okay, so I recently received this question from someone who challenged me about a supposed contradiction in God's Word in the book of Genesis. Here's his question. Quote, so since we have to interpret the numbers, meaning in the Bible, literally, tell me, using your literal hermeneutic, if God wanted Noah to take 2 of each type of animal or separate them into 7, which is it? Well, let's take a look at what he's talking about. First of all, in Genesis chapter 6, verses 17 through 20. Now, I'm going to use the translation he used because it's a little different than how it's translated than a lot of the other English versions. It's not incorrect, but it's just how it's translated. And he used this as support for a supposed contradiction in the Bible. Okay? So in Genesis 6, 17 through 20 in the NAS, the 95 revision, it says, and of every living creature of all flesh, you shall bring 2 of every kind into the ark, that they may live with you. They shall be male and female. Of the birds after their kind, and of the beast after their kind, of every creeping thing of the earth after its kind. 2 of every kind shall go in with you to keep them alive. All right, now it says this in Genesis chapter 7, verses 1 through 3, again from the NAS, New American Standard Bible, 95 revision. Of every clean animal you shall take with you 7 by 7, a male and his female. And of the animals that are not clean, 2, a male and his female. Also of the birds of the air, 7 by 7, male and female, that they may have offspring on the face of the whole earth. Okay, fair question. Does the Bible seem to or God seem to contradict himself here? Is it 7 pairs or 2 pairs of each type of animal? Well, of course, at first, just at a glance, it looks and sounds like a contradiction, or could be, depending on how you define a contradiction, first of all, but I digress. Now, especially using the New American Standard Translation, okay? But let's look at what it says in the New King James Version. It says, take with you 7 of each animal. In the ESV and CSB and other translations, the translator understood the Hebrew to say 7 pairs of each animal. So the answer to this supposed contradiction is actually quite simple. Number 1, this would read 7 pairs, which still maintains what God said in Genesis 6, to bring 2 of each, male and female. They're still pairs of animals, just the number of pairs. Number 2, 120 years at least had passed between Genesis 6 and the genealogies listed of Noah and his sons. Or it could even be just 55 to 75 years that could have passed between both commands. But the point is that many years passed between the 2 instructions while they built the ark. So God was free and is free to state in more words what was to be done between the 2 commands. God was free to say in more specifics what number of animals and numbers of pairs of animals he wanted in the ark. Number 3, the fact that he said to take as many clean animals as unclean ones. In other words, the reason is that God demanded a sacrifice of ceremonially clean animals, which symbolized a spiritual purity before God. So naturally, God needed there to be more pairs of the clean animals than of the unclean. Therefore, when you look at all of this, there is no contradiction in these Bible verses. God simply told him later how many sets of two or of pairs of each type and kind of animal he was wanting to bring into the ark. Now, here's an even more interesting point to make with this, and this needs to be remembered with a lot of supposed contradictions. If the copyists or translators had made a mistake in one of the numbers of pairs of animals, and they didn't, but I digress. Even if they made a simple mistake in copying the correct number between copies of the originals, it still has nothing to do with the fundamental and key doctrines of the faith or of what God was doing in flooding the earth and saving Noah and his family and the animals. It doesn't damage anything if there were, but in the end, there isn't. But what we're saying, if there were, it really makes no difference. It just doesn't really matter. Once again, God's word is true and without error and is fully inspired by Him. Well, I hope this short podcast has helped you understand more of God's truth in this area. And if you learn from it and want others to enjoy the same, remember to click on like, to click to subscribe, and to follow the podcast, and to share the link to this podcast today with everybody. Okay? And remember, as we always say, follow Jesus, and you'll always follow the truth.